So the 60-day clock now starts, during which they can collect recall signatures.
And so when are they actually due? The 17th, is that correct?
The 17th is the last day they can file. The 3rd of January is the first day they can file. So they have a window in there in which they can file. They can collect signatures up until the 14th, the Saturday. But then the petitions would be due on the 17th. They're due the next. You can't file them on a Saturday, and we're then closed on the Monday because of the Martin Luther King Day holiday.
And then there was some other paperwork filed for Senate recalls today. Can you detail that for us?
There was also paperwork filed for Senate recall committees for Senator Wangard, Senator Moulton, and Senator Galloway. And I don't know whether or not they actually filed that hard paperwork today, this morning. But the online filings were done, and those petition efforts are currently active now.
Has anything been filed for Scott Fitzgerald yet?
No. We understand that someone will be in later to file, to organize a committee. From our understanding, it's separate from this effort.
Finally, I'll ask you about all the signatures and how this is all sorted out. At the end of 60 days, we're not going to have a decision on whether there will be a recall, right? Like, assuming they get the signatures, there'll be legal challenges. Go through what happens.
When and if these committees file their papers, then the law gives us 31 days in which to review those signatures. Now, we've always asked for more time and been given more time by a judge, but that's what we'll have to go to court to ask for more time. At this point, we don't know exactly how long it's going to take. We think it may take us about 2 months to do that. During that time, we will have staff, we'll be hiring temporary staff to assist our election specialists with the process of going through these petitions, and we go through line by line, looking, is there a signature, is there a name, is there an address, is it dated properly, make sure the petition is filled out properly. What we don't do is go and look and see, does Joe Smith really live at 123 Main Street, and is Joe Smith really eligible to vote? Those are the things that are done usually by the incumbents committee or the incumbents people, and that's what's known as the challenge process. And normally they have about 10 days to go through those petitions and then file challenges based on them if they think that someone isn't eligible to vote, or more in the case of a Senate committee, that the person doesn't really live in that Senate district. That's an issue we dealt with somewhat during the Senate recalls earlier this year. Now, with a statewide recall, unless you have some evidence that someone actually lives in Iowa or Illinois or Minnesota or Michigan, those residency challenges probably won't be as significant as they were during the Senate recalls.
And so once that process is done, the election would then be set, what is it, 90 days after?
Well, what happens is that, once the board staff has gone through and looked at all the petitions, then the board will have a meeting to determine whether or not there are enough signatures. And, for example, for all of those challenges, each time the incumbent says, we don't think this person's signature is good or doesn't exist or something like that, then we will have to go through and make a recommendation on whether it does or not. Our board will make a final decision on whether there are a sufficient number of signatures, and then the election would be ordered 6 Tuesdays from that date. If there is, if only one person then files nomination papers to challenge the governor or lieutenant governor or any of the other office holders, that election would be held then in that 6 weeks. If there is a primary, that election in 6 weeks becomes the primary, and then the general recall election is held 4 weeks from there. So there's potential for about 10 weeks from the date that the Government Accountability Board makes a decision that the petitions are sufficient and orders the election.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Thanks. Just to clarify, United Wisconsin started taking off signing or collecting signatures as of midnight.